All right, in this lesson I'm going to teach you how to change the strings of your guitar. I'm going to go over a few pointers that you need to keep in mind to help you alleviate some frustration that people normally have when trying to change the strings of their guitar. So let's do it. All right, before you get started changing your strings, you want to have a couple of things handy. Obviously, you want a set of strings. I use the Dario medium gauge strings. If you're just starting out on the guitar, I recommend getting lights or extra lights. They're just a lot easier to play, a lot easier to press down with your fingers. Of course, if you strum too hard, they're easier to break as well. But when you're starting out, you're not really going to be strumming that heavily. So if you're just starting out, get lights or extra lights. The Darios are just a great brand. They're relatively cheap, and they sound great, and they stay in tune fairly well. You also want to make sure you've got the proper tools handy. This is a Jim Dunlop winder. It's actually a 2-in-1. It winds the tuners at the top, and it also pops the pegs out as well. This is really cheap. It's only like $1 or so at the store. Also, you could get one of these, which is kind of like a 3-in-1. It's got the wire clips at the top to clip the wires once you change the strings. It also has the winder for the tuners, and it's got the peg remover as well. This is a bit more expensive. It's something like $13 or so. If you don't want to spend that money, you can always just use regular wire clippers, as that is really the only added feature to this tool. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with unwinding the strings. Now, you want to make sure when doing this, you only want to take off one string at a time, put the new string on before moving on to the next string. You don't want to take all 6 strings off at the same time because it's going to mess with the tension of the neck. So what you can do is pluck the string and then start turning, and make sure you're turning in the right direction. Okay, you want the sound of that string to go down, not up. Otherwise, you're going to pop yourself in the face. And you're just going to keep unwinding until you're able to pull the string out. All right, and now we're going to move on down to the bottom of the guitar where the string goes into the bridge. We're going to take this little part of this tool, if this is the tool you're using, and you're going to put it, it fits perfectly in that peg, and then you just pop it up like this, and that peg comes right out. Whoa. Make sure you don't lose it, and then you can pull the string right out of there. Now, when you're putting on the new strings, you want to make sure to follow the guides that come with your strings. You're going to have color-coordinated strings. You'll notice that the end of the string has different colors depending on which string it is, and that color coding is going to be mentioned here on this chart. So make sure that you are using the correct string. So now comes the part that some people mess up on. You want to make sure when you're putting the string inside the hole of the peg, when you're finished, you want to make sure that this brass piece is actually resting against the side of the peg like this and not underneath the peg, okay? Because if it's underneath the peg, as you tighten the string with the tuning peg, as the tension gets tighter, it's going to actually push up on that peg and make the peg pop up. And it won't pop all the way out, but as it moves up, it's going to make your string go out of tune. So you want to make sure that your brass piece is here on the side of the peg, because as the tension tightens, it's actually going to press tighter on that peg and make it even tighter. So in order to do that, you're not going to be able to see if it's on the side, but you need to stick your string in there, and then you're going to stick the peg in, and as you stick the peg in, you're going to pull your string back up. And you want to make sure this little groove is facing forward. There's a groove on your peg. So make sure that's facing forward, and then pull your string back up as you push your peg down. Okay? And there we go. All right, now back to the head of the guitar. You want to make sure that the hole in this tuning peg is facing you so that you can make sure the string goes through it. And you want to pull it through, and you don't want to pull it all the way through, though. You don't want to pull it tight. This is a mistake a lot of people make, is that they pull the string so tight that when they go to tighten the tuning peg, they don't have but a couple of turns before it's completely tight. The problem with that is the guitar is not going to stay in tune very well. You want to give a couple of rotations to make sure that that string doesn't come out of tune so easily. And so in order to do that, just take your fingers and give some slack to that string, okay? I like to use about 2 fingers here, and that gives me enough slack to give me a couple of rotations around my tuning peg. And then I'll go ahead and start turning. And you want to make sure that when you're turning, that the string is going on the inside of this peg. You don't want the string coming in the opposite direction and going around the outside. You want it to come around the inside, coming from the inside of the neck out. Same thing with these two, and then these are going to be the opposite direction. You want them to go from the inside out this way. Okay, and so we're going to turn. So another thing you want to keep in mind while turning is you want this extra here, this extra that's going to be chopped off, you want to make sure that it's on top of the string that you're turning. You don't want it to end up going underneath the loop. Okay, so you want to hold it up while you turn and make sure that it stays on top. And as it tightens, we can go ahead and take it and put it in its little groove there and keep turning. And the same thing, as you turn, you want the new loops to be underneath. You want it to go lower and lower. You don't want them to start overlapping. It's just going to create problems for you later. All right, and once it gets pretty tight, you can stop and then try to tune it to the next string, okay? So while this string is still on there, before you loosen it, you can use the 5th fret up here and play that in the next string, and they both should be the same. So if they're not, you turn that low E string. And you just want to get it about the right place. You're not going to get it perfectly. And remember, it's a brand new string, so it's going to be going in and out of tune. It's going to be, as it stretches, it's going to get flat. So you just want to get it around about the right place so that when you go to tune the guitar, it's not very difficult for you to find your place.
Johnny was a little lad, he was an orphan boy. He grew up in a workhouse and he didn't have any toys. Johnny, you're a worthless runt, the magistrate declared. But Johnny jumped upon his bench and stole his powdered hair. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and catch a lead. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and catch a lead. His bones in prison colony. He jumped the ship and swam away to America, did he? Johnny went to walk the streets, got walloped in the head. He woke up wearing Union blue and dodging Southern lead. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and catch a lead. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and catch a lead. Johnny went to look for gold in California. Instead became a marshal in a town along the way. He never stopped a single crime, he even robbed a train and shot Wild Bill by accident in a friendly poker game. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and catch a lead. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and catch a lead. Johnny found a vein of gold 1/2 mile wide. He moved to San Francisco and there he got shanghaied. Johnny sailed the southern seas, a China pirate he. He made the captain walk the plank before he quit the sea. Go, Johnny, soon you will be dead. Go, Johnny, go, chase the trouble and
All right, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you can keep up with all of my tips, tricks, and song tutorials I come out with. And leave me any comments or questions you may have, and you can also shoot me an email, jonathan@simplifiedguitar.com. Come straight to my inbox, and I would be happy to hear from you. All right, I will see you in another lesson.